What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're continuing with the 32-team 7-round mock draft, and now we're looking at a team that I'm recording this in advance, and I hope to God they don't trade up, even though I know their fan base is dying for it, and that is the team that holds the 12th and 22nd pick in the first round, the Buffalo Bills. Now, before we jump into their free agency period, we need to talk about the one little thing, is trading up. Are they going to try to trade up with maybe the Giants at 2, which I think is unlikely, maybe the Browns at 4, maybe, and then any other team, you know, that's in the top 10 if they don't feel like they can get a quarterback. Totally a possibility, but we're going with this mock draft that there's no trades, but I'm going with the assumption that there might be, plus with how my mock kind of laid out, there still was a quarterback that I think they might get, so we just penciled him in there anyways. But I do think that if there was going to be one big trade in the first round, obviously the Bills with a bunch of picks, especially in the first 2 days, our prime candidates to move up. So before we jump on the mock draft, let's look at free agency really quickly and kind of see how it set up our draft board. Looking at who they lost, they traded Tyrod Taylor away. All right, they traded Cordy Glenn to the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, freed some cap space, and they lost linebacker Preston Brown, who started last year. Looking at what they added, they brought in Vontae Davis. Okay, see what he has left in the tank. Probably could compete to start. Brought in Chris Ivory, re-signed Kyle Williams, signed Star Lotulelei to an outrageous 5-year, $50 million deal. I don't know what the guaranteed number is, but at you know, guaranteed usually is the big key factor. But that's still a really big contract for a guy that's just a solid starting tackle. They brought in A.J. McCarron, so that kind of tells you that they will be looking at bringing in a quarterback because he's kind of a bridge, but you never know, maybe. He could be all right. They brought in Trent Murphy, who's pretty good, but he had some PED issues with Washington, and they brought in Russell Bodon kind of as a band-aid at the center spot. So jumping into the mock draft, starting out in the first round, pick number 12, I'm selecting quarterback Lamar Jackson from Louisville. Obviously would come in and be quarterback 2 behind A.J. McCarron. I think this is kind of the best case scenario. You have the draft picks. Take your shot. Take your shot with the guy that could game changer, could be the next Deshaun Watson. I'm really pulling for him. I think he will be able to play in the NFL. I'm not going to come out and say he's going to be the next Michael Vick or the next whatever, but I think Lamar Jackson is definitely an NFL caliber quarterback. But having A.J. McCarron, you have you kind of have one of the better unproven security blankets, if you will, because you have Lamar Jackson. Surely he's a project type player, and there probably shouldn't be any scenario that he plays his rookie season, much like Josh Allen, probably like Sam Darnold, pretty much any quarterback that goes to the Giants, they're gonna sit. You're gonna take the wait and see approach. You don't want to wait more than 1 year. But when you look with Lamar Jackson, if it doesn't work out, if things aren't going to work out, at least you have A.J. McCarron. He's probably looking at the backups that are straight-up backups, not talking like Nick Foles and stuff like that, guys that have actual starting experience. A.J. McCarron's probably the wild card that no one knows. Like, he looked all right in Cincinnati when he filled in for Andy Dalton. Like, and people are saying maybe he could be a starting quarterback. So the Bills have that on the roster. So I definitely think for drafting a high-risk, high-reward prospect like Lamar Jackson, the fact that they were able to land A.J. McCarron in free agency, I think, if they viewed Tyrod as a more expensive bridge quarterback, I think A.J. McCarron is a great fit to have there. Going to their second first-round pick at 22, I'm selecting wide receiver Christian Kirk from Texas A&M. Looking at their team right now, if you're getting a quarterback, you need to get some weapons. You have Kelvin Benjamin, who's solid when he's in shape, but there's still some, red flags with Kelvin Benjamin. What Kelvin Benjamin are you going to get? You have Zay Jones, second-round pick, who I think still has plenty left to give. Kind of had, I don't know what's coming out, if it's a mental disorder, if he was tripping on drugs, but that whole off-field thing, there's some uncertainty with the wide receiver spot. So when you look at the wide receivers that are available here, I think Christian Kirk's the most dynamic. I think he's the best complement if they view Kelvin Benjamin as their franchise guy and assume that he can, solidify himself as that. And Christian Kirk, great versatility. Special teams, who's their current special teamer? Brandon Tate, he's a free agent, so he can line up back there in special teams with Michael Hyde. Immediately, he can play in the slot, he can play on the outside. He's probably the most versatile wide receiver that has first-round consideration out of, like the Calvin Ridleys, Cortland Suttons, DJ Moore's kind of close to them. So I think you get the most area covered from your wide receiver core by bringing in Christian Kirk in the first round. I do think he's a legitimate, between picks 22 and like 35, that's where he should go. Some people may, if you're a Bills fan, see this as a reach, but your wide receiving core is as big of a red flag as anything in getting Christian Kirk, who I think has one of the lower bust potential out of some of the wide receiver prospects. I think it's as safe of a pick at the wide receiver spot in this year's draft class. Going to the second round after doubling up on offense in the first round. Second round, pick 53, I've been selecting cornerback Dante Jackson from LSU. I think he can come right in, play some nickel, play some outside. He's the speedster. Go, double up with the LSU wide receivers. Tre'Davious White worked out. He was, pretty much 1B to Marshawn Lattimore's 1A for Defensive Player of the Year. He's an outstanding player. But the bigger issue here is obviously you got guys like Micah Hyde, guys like Jordan Poyer. Let's be honest, they had their best years last year. I don't think that necessarily they're turning the corner and becoming like some great player, but they had great Pro Football Focus grades, and I do believe I'm a big fan of Sean McDermott. He's one of my favorite coaches since he's been here in Philadelphia way back when. I think his scheme is kind of making those guys excel a little bit, but when you look at, that's fine, but when you look at a guy like Vontae Davis, he was not good at all with the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know if there's health issues or whatever, but the fact that you have Vontae Davis, you have E.J. Gaines who's going to be going. Outside of Tre'Davious White, there's lots of uncertainty. So get a guy like Dante Jackson who's thin-framed, but has the speed and stuff like that to play on the outside, but ideally has the frame and the athleticism you want to start as a nickel. You get the LSU connection. I think that's really, really good value here at pick 53, and you probably will get a lot of meaningful snaps as a rookie for the Bills. Going to the second round pick. Pick 56, going back to the offensive side of the ball, I am selecting running back Ronald Jones II from USC, Rojo. I think he comes in as running back too. I think it's time that, you brought in Chris Ivory. It didn't look so good in Jacksonville. And I really did like Chris Ivory and thought he was super underrated when he was with the Jets. You have Shady. Shady is getting out there in age. Who do you have that's the eventual successor of LaShawn McCoy there in Buffalo? It's not going to be Chris Ivory. Sitting here in the second round, you get Ronald Jones, who after Saquon Barkley is probably right in that conversation. I personally do have Darius Geis, not comfortably, but decently enough ahead of Ronald Jones for the second best running back. But then for the third, where it comes to like a Sony Michel, Ronald Jones, Nick Chubb, Royce Freeman, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones might be the best of that second tier. And if it was the draft didn't have generational talent like Saquon Barkley and guys that are someone like Darius Geis, Ronald Jones probably could be a first-round draft pick if he would have, came back and came out and declared next year. So sitting here at pick 56, you get your safety net. So if Shady goes down with injury, let's be honest, he's had, some injuries piling up now. He's getting older. I think having his successor in place, and he'll be a guy that can give you meaningful minutes as a rookie, is a home run pick in the second round for the Bills. Going to the third round, pick 65, I'm selecting offensive tackle Tyrell Crosby from Oregon. I think right now for a third round pick, a lot of people in the scouting community are very, very high on him and think he's a starting right tackle day one. And when you look at the Buffalo Bills at right tackle, they have Jordan Mills. Yeah, serviceable. I think that's probably what's best. And I think ideally, if you can get Tyrell Crosby and he comes in and can win that job and have Jordan Mills as a swing tackle, Deion Dawkins is really, really nice coming out of Temple. I think he solidified himself as their starting left tackle. That's nice, man. Adding a swing tackle, you get better at two position. Swing tackles are pretty important in the NFL. Just tackle depth in general. I think adding a guy that has potential to start, or at very least, like I said, there's no way in hell he doesn't at least contend through training camp and preseason at starting at right tackle. Third round, money. Going to the second third round pick, pick 96, I'm selecting defensive tackle R.J. McIntosh from Miami. I think it comes in as deep tackle 3, competes with the Dolphins Washington for snaps, the 2016 third round pick. Clearly, Kyle Williams is going to be the vet. And then Star Lutulele is going to be probably the every down D tackle, whereas Kyle Williams will probably rotate with whoever is defensive tackle 3. But R.J. McIntosh, who declared kind of early, people thought he would return to Miami, was a big reason why the Canes kind of had a little bit of a revival last year. A very, very solid defensive tackle that's good against the run and can give you a little bit in terms of rushing the passer. But ultimately, I think he'll be a part of a rotation with Kyle Williams and Adolphus Washington, and definitely beefs up the defensive tackle because Kyle Williams probably is, one more year left, and after that, you want some names, you want some guys that can eventually take over. Going to the fourth round pick, 121, even with the Russell Bodine signing, I mean, he has been nothing but an average at best center. They're going to select center Scott Quessenberry from UCLA. I think he'll come in right away and be center number 2. I think you have guys like Ryan Groy, who I think they're kind of high. He could probably play inside and outside, be it center or guards. But when you look at Scott Quessenberry, one of the top centers in this year's draft class, and I think personally, Russell Bodine is more of a band-aid. Really, the only thing notable he's ever done is put up a really impressive bench press at the Combine. He's part of a pretty shit offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think you get a guy like Scott Quessenberry. Maybe you can look at moving a guy like Bodine to the outside like a guard, take over for Richie Incognito or something like that. Think outside the box. But I still think the Bodine signing does not mean if the best player available on your board is a center and you want to get better on the offensive line, you don't take him. So the fourth round, Quessenberry is a nice pick. Going to the 5th round, pick 166, going back to wide receiver. I'm selecting Traquan Smith from UCF. I think he walks in as wide receiver 4 or 5, depending on what happens with Zay Jones. Andre Holmes is not bad, but I mean, this is a team that's losing Brandon Tate, Deontay Thompson, probably Jordan Matthews. So you need to add more bodies, and a guy like Traquan Smith, a really good productive season for the undefeated UCF Knights. He's one of those guys that's like a jack of all trades, master of none. He has solid route running, decent athlete, good hands, you know, good jump ball, good size, but not really great at anything. So he's the kind of guy that I think will probably have a ceiling as like your backup depth. I don't know if necessarily he could be an outright starter, but you know, role guys are key. Role guys are absolutely key in the 5th round, and plus he has potential. He could definitely emerge into a starting wide receiver, but I limit your expectations. But I definitely think he is an NFL caliber player, draftable, and probably an upgrade when you like. He debatably, I guess it kind of sounds like I'm shitting on him. Like he debatably could compete and bump out Andre Holmes for whatever snaps he was gonna get, or Malachi Dupree, or anything like that. Rod Streeter. So nice little pickup there in the 5th round. And then the 6th round at 187, I'm selecting defensive end Marcel Frazier from Mizzou. Comes in defensive end 4. Not sure what's going on with Shaq Lawson. To be honest with you, I was super high on him coming out of Clemson. Was one of my favorite players. But they do. You know, you have Jerry Hughes, who's proven. You have Trent Murphy, who, if he can stay off the juice, you know, he can get after the pass rusher, even though he was a 3-4 linebacker. He's not playing defensive end. But I still feel like just, you know, your best player available, a guy like Marcel Frazier, put up a lot of sacks, got a lot of pressure in the SEC, and could come in and probably challenge, or at least, you know, get some rotational snaps as a rookie. And usually in the 6th round, you're trying to find guys that can fall on to the final 53 and contribute on special teams. A guy like Marcel Frazier can offer that and a whole lot more and get some snaps. You know, he's the kind of guy that could probably get 2 or 3 sacks and a forced fumble or something like that as a rotational defensive end as a rookie. So there you go, guys. That is my Buffalo Bills mock draft for the 2018 NFL Draft. Lots of hot takes, but debatably, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fire picks. The first 5 picks are all fire in my opinion, but you know, you may disagree if you don't really believe in Lamar Jackson. Let me know what you feel about this Bills mock draft in the comment section below. If you have your own Buffalo Bills mock draft, let me know. We can compare it side by side. If it was your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed, and until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.